John, an experienced drone enthusiast, decided to explore a new area. As he flew his drone, he noticed a small door on top of a nearby mountain. Intrigued, he flew the drone closer to investigate. As he zoomed in, he saw that the door was very tiny, and curiosity got the better of him. John decided to climb up the rocky mountain to take a closer look, but little did he know that was a very, very bad decision. Getting into the old metal door was anything but easy, but with sheer grit and determination, John managed to do it. And he was blown away by what he was seeing when he was making his way deeper and deeper into the mountain. But what did John find in the mountain? Why was it hidden behind a strange metal door? And why was going through it a very bad decision? Before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. John had wanted to explore this area for a long time now, but the local authorities had always been in his way. These forests had been a protected area for decades now, and getting in was not easy, and so he decided to take a risk. His desire to explore was just too great. If he could not enter these woods himself, then maybe his drone could. As an experienced drone pilot, John had been selling the footage he managed to capture his flying friend online to make an extra buck. And he had quickly figured out that footage of places that were illegal to enter sold very well, and for a good price. As he was flying his drone through the sky, hoping not to attract too much attention, John noticed a small mountain or rock formation that seemed to be at the center of the protected area. This mountainside did not completely consist of rock formations. There was actually something strange located near the top, and as he flew his drone even closer to it, he just about managed to make out that it was a door of some sort. John was very surprised by his discovery. What was something like this doing in the middle of a protected area? And then something else suddenly happened. His trustworthy drone suddenly started to malfunction heavily. Within seconds, the screen started to glitch, and John lost the controls. The screen went completely black, and the last thing that he saw was that the drone was crashing towards the foot of the mountain. Now John was faced with a dilemma. Not only did he want to get his expensive drone back and see if there was anything he could still salvage from it, but to do that, he knew that he would have to enter the protected area. But John did not feel like he had another choice right, and he decided to scale the fence. He just prayed that no other human or creature would spot him on this journey. After about an hour of walking, he finally found what he was looking for. His drone was hanging in some vines high in the trees. The food thing was that these vines had stopped its fall, and it looked to still be in very good condition. John looked up the mountain, and even though the rock wall was very steep, it did seem like there was a good way to climb up there. As he started his ascent, John realized the deceptive nature of the mountain's terrain. What looked like solid ground from afar turned into loose gravel underfoot. Hidden crevices posed threats at unexpected turns. As John climbed higher, the sheer magnitude of the mountain became evident. As he ventured further, John discovered etchings on some boulders. They appeared to be of ancient origin, possibly made by indigenous tribes. Were they a form of guidance? A warning? The final stretch to the door felt both exhilarating and ominous. The grandeur of the door was evident. As John took a closer look, he could see that every inch was covered in finely etched patterns, not just ornamental, but perhaps symbolic. While the door's size suggested it was built for something large to pass through, its detailed design indicated purpose, care, and intention. John was drawn to an almost concealed side entryway, much smaller and less grand than the main entrance. The hidden door was bound by a padlock, weathered and rusted over time. The metal had been corroded by years of exposure to the elements, suggesting that this entrance hadn't been used in a long while. Undeterred, John began attacking the lock with his water bottle, his strikes ringing through the silent mountain. Once inside, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The darkness was almost tangible, engulfing John. The flashlight's beam offered minimal visibility, revealing a cavernous space ahead. John quickly realized that the cavern wasn't just one large space. Various pathways branched out, each more enticing and mysterious than the last. The mountain's walls, etched with the scars of time, seemed to whisper tales of those who might have trod these paths long before him. With every new corridor and chamber he discovered, John's excitement transformed into a nagging concern. Panic gnawed at the edges of his consciousness. Had he ventured too deep? A breathtaking expanse awaited John after squeezing through a particularly tight crevice. A vast corridor, both wide and high, made him feel minuscule. The hallway was not just an architectural marvel, it was a gallery of the past. Displayed on raised platforms and within the alcoves were remnants of a bygone era: broken pottery, rusted weapons, and faded textiles. Each artifact told tales of daily life, of celebrations, wars, and perhaps ceremonies. John felt an overwhelming respect for a civilization he could only dream of understanding. Suddenly, in the midst of his ascent, a new sound pierced the silence. Footsteps, distinctly different from his own. They echoed eerily, making it hard to decipher their distance or direction. A shiver ran down John's spine. The once bright beam of his flashlight now flickered erratically. He needed to find an escape, or at least a sign indicating the right direction. Amid the shadows, John noticed an area that stood apart. Age-old equipment, constructed from materials he didn't recognize, lay scattered. These weren't relics of an ancient civilization, but rather machines with intricate designs and unfamiliar functionalities. Beyond the machinery, a grand chamber revealed itself, resembling a control room of sorts. John felt as though he had stumbled upon the very heart of the mountain's secrets, a place that once pulsed with activity and purpose. Curiosity overcoming caution, John tentatively pressed a worn button. A hum vibrated through the ground, followed by a slow, illuminating glow from the screens. Ancient mechanisms whirred to life, projecting aerial images of the mountain's labyrinthine corridors. Beside the control panel, a drawer yielded aged, brittle documents. Logs, written in a mix of familiar and foreign scripts, spoke of expeditions, discoveries, and something termed the mountain's core. The notes danced around a momentous discovery, but frustratingly, the final pages were missing. The mountain's quiet was disrupted by a distant, ominous rumble. The machinery's activation might have alerted something, or someone. John began his descent with urgency, the weight of his discoveries quickening his pace. The towering walls seemed to close in on him as he navigated tight squeezes and slippery slopes. Every turn held the promise of an exit, but also the potential for dead ends. Emerging into a familiar cavern, John's heart leapt at the sight of his drone, lying undisturbed. With the drone safely in hand, the exit's beckoning grew stronger. As he neared the mountain's base, John couldn't shake the sensation of being watched. It seemed the mountain had guardians keen on keeping its secrets. As John moved further, an expansive chamber appeared ahead, concealed by layers of rocks and vines. Its vastness was breathtaking, resembling a hangar more than a natural formation. In the center of this magnificent hall, shielded from the elements, sat a jet. This wasn't just any aircraft. Its sleek design and unfamiliar markings suggested it belonged to an era far ahead of our time, or perhaps from a past too distant to remember. He quickly captured images with his drone, ensuring evidence of his discovery before making a hasty retreat. Back at camp, John replayed the drone footage, juxtaposing it against his own memories. The images of the jet were clear and undeniable. He felt like an archaeologist who had unearthed not relics of the past, but rather a foreshadowing of the future, or a chapter of history long forgotten. What if others sought the jet for nefarious purposes? What did its presence signify? John grappled with the dilemma of protecting the find and informing the world. After much thought, John decided he had to share his discovery. But how? The approach needed to be cautious. Crafting a plan, he made duplicates of his footage, hid the original in a safe location, and began reaching out anonymously to trusted figures in archaeology and aviation. Even in the relative safety of his camp, John couldn't shake off the feeling of being observed. Every rustle of leaves, every distant bird call took on an ominous note. The mountain's guardians, real or imagined, seemed to extend their presence into his very psyche. Within days of discreetly sharing snippets of the footage, the story exploded. Media outlets worldwide broadcasted the images of the ancient yet futuristic jet. Speculations ran wild, theories abounded, and John's discreet world was turned upside down. The hidden mountain and its enigmatic jet became the epicenter of global curiosity.